Make some noise for Bob Etherington.
On the basis that nobody ever said that last presentation was too short, I will keep this as concise as I can. Back in 1973, the trusty but very well recognised news company Reuters, out there on Fleet Street, invented a system called the Reuters Monitor, a special system for foreign exchange traders around the world so they could keep an eye on the currency prices on their screen. It was a revolution in its time. When I was a broker in the City of London, we had no screens in those days. Anyway, Reuters came along with a special screen system that could be linked up to all the brokers and traders in the world in foreign exchange. And they thought it was only going to be for the top 11 banks in the world. So they built a network that would support 200 keyboard and screen workstations. 10 years later, they had sold 300,000 of them. And the technical director of Reuters, when he got to that stage, he said, if I'd known it was going to have to get that big, I would never have agreed to go ahead with the project. And it went that big because Reuters decided that they needed a sales force to sell it. And they needed people, they were particularly keen on people like me who had Xerox training. They never quite exactly liked us because, you know, companies like Reuters are very good. Herbie and I had a wonderful time working there. It's run by an intellectual elite, the top people from Oxford and Cambridge and Harvard. We were known, therefore, we salespeople, as necessary yobbos. The necessary gigs who had to go out and sell. And because of the sales force taking up these products around the world, Reuters became the biggest purveyor of financial information in the world when Herbie and I were both there. And then in 2001, they decided they needed a change. And so we had a new American managing director took over, and he's a very nice chap, and I know him very well. And people like me were asked if they'd like to retire. Oh, we were shown the door and offered a very nice package, and the more you knew where the bodies were buried, the bigger your package had to be. And so I left and started up a company. 6 months later, I was at somebody's retirement do. And the managing director of Reuters took me to one side and said, do you ever do any work again with Reuters? I said, no, you kicked us out. He said, well, we'd like you to do some work with us. I said, but your guys, who are now running the company for you, tell me they're doing all right by themselves. And he said to me, Robert, I don't know whether we can anymore. Where is Reuters today? Where is Bloomberg today? There are other companies standing in the wings. Now, I'm not equating in any way, of course, that it was the sales force that Reuters needed to grow, but it's coincidental that as soon as we all left, as soon as a lot of us professionals from the market went, the company's fortunes went downhill very quickly. About 40 years ago, when I started selling copy machines, I told you about earlier, Olivetti, one of our competitors, did away with the whole of their sales force. They said, we don't need a sales force anymore. The companies set the product sold itself. They went out of business in the copy machine market very quickly. A sales force in any organisation makes a huge, huge amount of difference. And this is why SOSI has been started, to educate you and the world in how to do this properly. Because once you've learned how to sell, and this is what Xerox said to me, and I'm going to say it to all of you tonight, you will never, ever be out of work again. Ever. Because people who can sell are very, very rare. And sometimes the companies that employ us in sales get complacent. They think they can do it by themselves. It's only when the sales force disappears and the baby's been thrown out with the bathwater that they realise what a role they play. So our objectives tonight and in future meetings, well, we hope you'll all come along. I've got to say, this is absolutely wonderful to see so many of you here at this time of night. Our objectives are going to be to open your mind to the challenges of selling in this internet, Brexit, uncertain world. And things did start to change when the internet came along. And to ask, as we have done tonight, why schools and colleges have got to start to take this more seriously. And not just show how to write a business plan, how to do your profit and loss statements. They've got to teach you the physical art and science of selling. Now, about 75% of all the businesses I work with, when I go and have an inaugural chat with them, they find my website, they say, can you come and talk to us? 75% of businesses, when I sit down, they say, before we start, there's something you've got to understand. And I usually say, what's that? I sort of know what's coming. And they say these words, and they're the saddest words in the world. They say, Mr. Etherington, our business is different from most of those that come across. Everybody thinks their business is different, and therefore the rules of selling and marketing don't apply to them. They have to go and do it a different way. And yet the rules of business and the basics of selling are still there. It's the one universal thing that unites every sort of commercial operation you can think of, from your local dentist to an accountant to a cleaning company. Everybody has to sell. Selling, if you don't sell, then you have no business. You have no business, you have no money, and your business will go out of business. My American business partner, when I set up on my own in 2002, I said to him, Tommy, how do I know when I've got a viable business? He said, Robert, the only thing that it'll tell you whether you've got a viable business is your answer to this question. Have you got any customers? Your business isn't there just because you've set up a nice office and you've got nice headed paper and visiting cards. In fact, you should go out and sell if you've got a new product before you even bought or made it, see whether anybody bites. The worst thing you can do is set up your business and then go out and try and sell it. That's the wrong way around. Selling comes first and last. If you've got a good idea for a product or a service, go and advertise it, see whether anybody bites. If they bite, it's probably worth your while spending money on developing a product. If they don't, think of something else. Every type of commercial enterprise has this one common activity. So, what are, in these difficult times, these internet, these Brexit times, what are 4 common strategies that people like me, whose job is to consult and help people form sales forces? I say there are these 4 common strategies, and the number one that I see everywhere in the world at the moment, from New York City to Brisbane to London, is this notion that it's all about price, and people trying to discount their way to success. There is no evidence whatsoever that dropping your price brings you any more profitable business. None at all. Next were being lauded quite recently for their Christmas success. They started having sales, and they've just reported their profits are way down. Everybody thinks that's what they can do. And yet I have to ask you, how many of you ever believe that price is the main thing for your customers? Good. I'm glad you're saying that. Rather than what you have to do when you go and train sales forces, you say to people, or quietly, the guys will come up to you before you start the course and say, well, of course, it is price, really. So you ask the room full of, let's say, 18 people, write down a list of all the things you have bought personally recently where price was the main criteria. And they'll write little short lists. They've had things like toilet paper, socks. The big things that they want to buy, it isn't. It's value for money, as you heard from the panel discussion earlier. The second strategy that people are adopting is telling their sales force to work harder. Go out and see more people, knock on more doors. What do you think happens if you send it? And that's what we were taught at Xerox, by the way, back in the late 60s, early 70s. Knock on every door you come to. The numbers game selling. The more people you talk to, the more orders you get. What happens in that case is you send your sales force out and you start to go out to see just about everybody who's got any money in the bank, see whether you can sell a service to them. The problem is with that, you get a lot of rejection. And rejection is very demotivating, so you get fed up with hearing no, so you give up. Rather than going to select your targets in the beginning. The third thing they do is fiddle with the advertising budget. They think, we don't need a sales force anymore, we do it on advertising. Suddenly they start a lot of more advertising, which results in a lot more inquiries coming in, and those inquiries from an untargeted marketplace. And so you're in the same mess as before, talking to a lot of people who are never going to be customers anyway. Or, if they've already got an advertising budget, they cut it. And so regular ads that appeared in trade press or magazines stop appearing, and then everybody thinks you've died and gone to heaven. So fiddling with the advertising budget doesn't do it anyway. And the fourth and most common one of all is wait and see. As I said to you earlier, people thinking this is all just temporary and good times will be here again soon. No, this is the new normal. The light at the end of the tunnel is probably an express train coming the other way about to hit you. This is a different world we're now living in. The only thing that has changed about selling in the last 40 years is everything. Everything has changed. In my day-to-day job, I go around, I travel throughout Europe and occasionally America and maybe odd times in Asia. You often get asked whether you'll do an extra freebie for them, for the company you're working with. And they decide that they're going to hold a breakfast meeting for sometimes their competitors and associates and everything else. And you get asked during a breakfast in a room like this, whether you, while they're all having their breakfast, whether you will answer various questions. You have, quite well-heeled managing directors of quite large companies in the town you're working in. And usually they're asking you little tweaky questions, like how do we come up with a commission plan that rewards some of the engineering and technical staff who have to set up what the salespeople have sold? Or how do we develop an international pricing policy for our major clients? And then about a year ago in Finland, when I was up there, somebody at the back put up their hand and asked a question which in olden days times would have been a really stupid question. But it isn't now. And he said, what I'd like to know is, what is the purpose of a sales force in this internet world? In this uncertain world? What is the purpose? What are they supposed to be doing? Because we've got the internet. We've got LinkedIn. What do we need a sales force for? What do you think the answer to that is? What do you think?
Personal touch.
Yep.
Help them to make a decision.
Help them to make a decision? What do you think? I'll tell you what a lot of people, well, I've written down some of the main ones I hear at these meetings. A lot of people say, it's a cheap one here, to make sales. Well, how do you be a bit more creative than that? To make sure the customer has the correct information about what we do. Yeah, fair enough. To show that you're better than a competitor. Yeah, fine. To show something worthwhile. To put it, your technical things, you often need this for technical people, I do agree, in the customer's language and stop them using mumbo-jumbo. Talk in the customer's language. And the one I was in sums it all up is to communicate the value of your offering. You know, it's the old thing, you may have heard this, that the world will beat if you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. Have you heard of that? Yeah. No, it doesn't happen. It's the biggest lie in business these days. Just because you've got a great product and you go out and sell it in the old way. Good morning, Mr. Prospect. How are you? I will see you. I've got my new mousetrap here. It's made of timber from sustainable forests. It's got recycled cars for the metal. It's got reconstituted plastic from plastic bags for the bait trap. And its tempered springs are done by the heat of the sun through solar rays. Any questions? What's your first question going to be? How much? How much? And that's what usually happens. You know? Because that's what used to work. That used to work, the pitch. Most of my clients, they can't wait to get in front of the customer. Let me show you our demo. Let me get out the brochure. It worked in the olden days. We were certainly at Xerox. We had to learn 4 classic scripted demos for the 4 copiers that we sold. People get bored now. People get bored and fed up with it. You know, this getting up and saying, look at our mousetrap is better. Customers really saying to you, what I want is dead mice cheap. If you go and run one of those pictures, that's what you're going to be in. And if you're getting these price questions early on, that's the sort of thought that's going to go through the customer's mind. Our job these days is different. It's no longer about communicating the value of what we do. But because it used to work, some people just can't do it, can't learn the new ways of selling. If all you do is communicate how good your products are, you're not going to survive. As I said to you earlier, even most website homepages don't pass the 14-second test. What the customers want is their problem solved. They don't want you to be a talking brochure. Talking brochure selling is regarded by most buyers as the weakest form of selling. On a scale of 1 to 10, it comes down to the 1. At 10, right at the top, is the most successful form of selling, but quite rare. It's the strategic changer. People, who listen to what you've said and said, that was such a great idea, we're going to change everything in this company. What you've got to aim for, it's the most practical one of all, is to become a problem solver. Because most people want their problem solved when you come in. They don't want something new. In the internet age, we all look the same to our customers on that little 30 centimetre by 30 centimetre screen. Doesn't matter what you put on there, we all look the same. So you've got to do something that differentiates you. The days of the talking brochure are over. Now, I'm not a guru, but some of the people treat you as a guru, and I do tend to start yapping too much to customers. And I'm telling them this, and I'm telling them something else, and how everything goes together, and what we can do for them. I suddenly realised I've got to shut up. In fact, I have to write this on my own pad sometimes. Shut up, Bob. Because the customer's not interested in all my guff. They want to know whether I can solve their problems. How am I going to find out what problems I've got? Because we're through, you see, we're through the age of communicating value. Now we've got to create value for our proposition. We've got to sell more than the intrinsic value of our product. In my London flat about 3 or 4 years ago, I had a little mouse, a real mouse. And all I wanted was it dead. And my son, when he used to stay with me before he got married, he said, no, don't want dead, but we worked out one night that the mouse had sort of got round the back of the city. We're going to get it, going to kill that little bastard. I said, no, you've got to do this humanely. I had to go and find a Tupperware box, scoop him up, and take him to a skip down the road where he might not come back into the flat. Just let him out humanely. He was selling, if I was going to sell him a map, I'd say, how important is it to you to kill a mouse humanely? Oh, very. Why? I hate to think of something suffering. So you think of all those different things which are not intrinsic in the mousetrap that somebody might want to buy. Because it's they will buy for their reasons and not necessarily yours, or the ones you think they will actually have. And research in America last year, where they estimate about 19 million people are employed in the sales game, suggests that in the next 3 years, roughly half of them are going to lose their jobs because they cannot change to this new way of selling. They're still selling, by the whole means of talking brochure or showing their demo, opening the laptop. They can't wait to open the laptop. But the good news, that's the bad news. The good news is, for those sellers that are left, they're going to be paid a lot more money. Hooray! Because the job is going to become very different. You've already got to think of the job changing from salesperson to value creator. Value creation manager, if you like. You've got to say to yourself, what is it we do that the customer values which will tip the scale in our favour? Because if we can do it, and in the customer's mind link their problem with a benefit or a solution inherent in our product, here's the interesting psychological thing. Even if another supplier comes along, a competitor of yours, with a similar product and undercuts you on price, the customer will prefer you because they feel that you're solving a problem for them and you've linked it to something in your machine, then your competitor, the cheaper competitor, just trying to sell something. They link the thing to you because you are a problem solver and not just another person selling. To get people thinking along these lines, what I often do now in the last year or so, when I go in to see a customer and they're introduced to their sales force, I give them this target. I say, what I want you to do as a result of doing this training, before you go out and see any customer in future, ask yourself this question. Is this customer going to be so impressed by the insight that I've shown through my questioning that at the end of this meeting they'll feel like paying me for my time because I've opened their eyes to stuff? If you're just going out to do the usual blah and the usual old spiel and the usual old presentation, the usual old shtick and the usual old pitch, you're going to lose. If you ask all questions and create the value and you show insight, and I'll show you how to do this in just a minute, people say, wow, and most buyers say they have had at least 1 or 2 people who've done this for them, but it's very, very rare. To do this as sellers, you have got to understand more than ever before what it is your customers want to buy. And this stuff isn't new. Neil Rackham in his book Spin Selling, and how many of you read Spin Selling? That's not enough of you. You've all got to read it. It's really interesting. And Neil is a psychologist. He was only young when he wrote this book. He said, you've got what the secret. He was asked by Motorola in the States, so I'll just tell you a quick story, because he was writing erudite articles in Harvard Business Review and everything else in his late teens. And this was read, some of his work on persuasion was read by the bosses at Motorola, and they employed him through his professor at Sheffield University in the UK to do a study around the world of sales interactions, because they wanted to find out what it was top business persuaders did in Motorola. And they discovered it was one thing. What was it they discovered? The people that have read the book can't answer. What was it they discovered that top sellers do? Most successful sellers?
Solve problems.
No, it wasn't problem solving. They asked questions. That's all they did. And this was so revolutionary at that time. A lot of book publishers who were selling training, training literature wouldn't publish his work because they were steeped in the old folklore of the old-fashioned selling, a pitch and a hard closing, which I was taught, and being cocky with your overcoming objections. I mean, at Xerox, we were taught if somebody says they haven't done any, made more than 2 copies of something since Christmas, your reply is as many as that. We were taught smart-ass answers. That just doesn't work, he said. He said, you've got to ask questions. Number one, questions get you to this level of understanding. But the second thing, and even more powerful than questions, is what have you discovered that questions do that makes them very powerful, the most powerful persuasion tool? Yeah, that's nearly there. What's very, very powerful? Why does a barrister in a court of law never ask you a question he doesn't know the answer to? Why? What is it?
It's unpredictable.
It's predictable, yeah? What else? If I say to you, that's a very nice scarf, can you just, where'd you get it? Where'd you buy it? It was a gift. But what did you have to do when I asked you that question? You had to think. You had to think about what I wanted you to think about. While I'm yapping at you and pitching at you like I am at this very second, you can easily go to sleep and wonder when he's going to shut up and sit down and see if we can all have a drink. As soon as I ask you a question, it's like getting hold of her lapels by the lapels and jerking her towards you. She can't possibly think simultaneously of anything else. So by asking very chatty questions, which you've pre-planned, you can guide the customer's thinking down the road you want them to go down. A good torturer you become, in fact. A good torturer doesn't have to start sticking red hot pins into you. He just says, what do you think it would be like if I did? This is seriously, this is real selling. You know, you imagine a top salesman going in and saying, good morning, have I got something to show you? Click, click. It's not like that at all. A good salesperson asks questions about problems he or she knows they can fix. And they're in absolutely no hurry to show the solution whatsoever. That's what they do first of all. They write down, they take a sheet of paper, they say, what is it? What are the raw facts about our product or service? And they write them all down the left-hand side of the paper. In my case, I'd say, well, I teach face-to-face selling, I teach cold calling, I teach negotiating. That's pretty boring to people. See, on the right-hand side, next to each one, I answer the question, so what? Which your customers are asking. What does that mean to me? In the 4 key areas, power, profit, prestige, and pleasure. That's why people buy things. You know, to put them in an advantageous position, power. Profit, anything to do with money, either making more or cutting your bills. Pleasure, ease of use. Prestige, being one step ahead of anyone else. You know, why would you drive a Rolls Royce and somebody else got a Mini? People will often take things because they want a better value service. You probably find if you added up all the prices of something like a Bentley car, it would come no more than the average car, but it's your feeling about it that they're selling to. So you ask a few questions first of all, you've written all your things down. You've got to think of this like, what's that game show in America where they give you the answer and then you've got to think of Jeopardy. Jeopardy, that's right. So you've got to think of this like Jeopardy. You've got all the answers down now. But you've got to find out whether the customer is interested in each of those areas. So you ask the question. And it's never a happy question. It's always got a word like, how concerned are you about X, Y, Z? How much of a headache is it for you when blah, blah, blah? How worried are you about? You're injecting them, you're vaccinating with little tiny worries and problems. That's your job. You are a torturer. You're in no hurry to take them. There's something. Only then, finally, if you don't believe this works, turn on your television at 4 o'clock in the morning and watch these people selling clockwork hoovers and cucumber feeders. That's exactly what they do. You'll die. Tell me the price. Tell me the price. No, it does this. That's what they do it. You've got to start doing it as well. You've got to start being a torturer. That's what you've got to start doing. You keep them from the solution. And all the evidence is, this is Neil Rackham's assessment, all the things that the customers really, really start to desire and want your product. And he moves you from being a salesperson to them buying from you. They want the solution. They're pleading for it. Please tell me the solution. What do I do? And then you say, all right, be careful. Then they're ready to buy from you. This is how you create value. This is what impresses people. What your customers are, you all got to imagine your customers are saying to you, unspoken these words, show me something I didn't already know, about a problem I didn't realise I had, don't show me the unexpected solution. Show me something I didn't already know about a problem I didn't realise I had, then show me the unexpected or unanticipated solution. If you start selling like this, and we will show you in these, in these various courses and classes we're going to run how to do it, I promise you it will work. It's worked absolutely fine for me. When you stop doing it, your sales will collapse. When you start to do it, customers will see you as this big problem-solving person. Not a salesperson anymore. You will become, what I said to you earlier, you will become a value creation manager. And your sales, I've got to promise you this as well, will be much bigger than you ever anticipated. You won't have to start cutting your price. Your value will be seen as greater than the problem. Your value will be much greater than the problem, or rather the price, the cost of your problem will be much less than the cost of your product. They'll be shocked when they see how little you're charging to solve this mammoth problem which you've helped them dig the grave to. If you, and any of us live in London, if you don't believe this is the way you sell ladies' makeup, if you go to Selfridges on a Saturday morning, this is what they will do to you. They will say, "Just make a makeup, madam. You're a makeup person." Oh yes, thank you very much. You sit on the chair, they put a very hard white light on your face and make you look in a mirror. And then they will say to you, "You know what you've done, don't you?" Right? You've got a beautifully made up person looking at your white pasty face, which I thought was beautiful one. Now they've worried you. Because they're trying to sell you a pot of goop worth 50p, and they're trying to make you believe it costs £50. There is no scientist sitting in Switzerland thinking, how are you going to reduce wrinkles? They're just marketing guys who've got to worry you before you're going to buy it. When you're trading insurance, you've got to talk about death and accidents. When you go into your local supermarket, they're trying to make you hungry. That's why you go in through bread and fruit, the nice smelly things, and not freezer cabinets. Seriously, this is real stuff that you've got to really learn how to do. And if you do, I promise you, you will be so different from the average person that goes in and pitches. So if you've got a feeling, and I'll finish what I'm going to say right now, if you've got a feeling you would like to cut your price, you don't have to. If you've got a feeling you would like to go and knock on everybody's door, you don't have to. Just find the people who've got the sort of problems that you need fixing. If you have a feeling you'd like to cut or increase your ad budget, you don't have to. If you've got this feeling everything's going to go back the way it used to be, no it isn't. So you've got to have a new strategy and a new way of selling to create value. This is it. So welcome to the society, and if you have any final 2 to 3 questions, then I'll be pleased to answer them, otherwise I'll shut up and sit down and have a chat with you and give out the awards.
I've got a feeling that what you're suggesting is going to soon become outdated, and relating to people genuinely as human beings is going to take over and be much more useful. I find it much, much better just being able to concentrate on what the person, the human being that I'm speaking to actually really needs, as opposed to depressing them, the hell out of them, and then selling them something to help the depression.
They have got a real problem. I mean, the two golden rules of selling, which I was taught by the spin people in Huthwaite in Maryland, are number 1, a customer places more value on the things they ask you for compared with the things that you freely offer them they didn't ask for.
Yeah, but then you're relating to them as a human being, so that follows on that point.
That's exactly what.
What's your second point?
And the second point is that the customers take more importance on the words that come out of their own mouths than anything that you tell them. As soon as your customer starts talking, you shut up.
But where is it carrying the kindness, the cooperation, and all of this that binds us all together?
This is me solving a problem. People didn't realise they had a problem.
You're creating the problem in order
No, I can't create a problem for them. I'm creating a value in their mind. They're thinking about the problem. They don't have to agree with me at all. They might say, and some do, I haven't got their problems. So that's absolutely fine. I shake their hands and I leave.
If you have something that's worth passing over to them, then they'll see that.
No, they don't. This is the interesting thing. Customers don't make that automatic link. It's up to you, the salesperson, to make the link. And buyers, and this is mainly statistics from the States, say that 53% of the reason they bought competitive products is because of the skill of the salesperson showing them the sort of problems that it would fix.
But the way you're putting it, it really sounds like you're going to chomp them down till they can't survive, and then you're going to pick them up and sell them something to help them.
They can stop me doing it. They like to talk about. People love to talk about their problems. I'm helping them, but I want them to think about problems. I want them to think about problems in areas where I know I've got a solution.
But as a human being, you shouldn't have to depress someone to sell something.
The problem's already there. They're just sitting on it, but they don't have to listen to me.
No.
And I say, you might be the guy that wrote, which is acceptable, that the thing that says my techniques are disgraceful. Well, nobody, which is fine. Not everybody is like me, but I have to tell you
disagree with
that nobody has yet written to me to say this stuff doesn't work.
No, but that's not a good excuse.
I'm not lying to them.
No, the Nazis made things work as well. That's not a good excuse to do rotten things and say these things work.
I made
that's not a good excuse.
Absolutely
I'm sorry.
fine. No,
Really isn't.
I will take it offline with you afterwards, rather than disturb the ambiance of the room now. I will take it offline afterwards.
So, if I need to sell my software or my stuff, then how much research or how much questioning I should put before?
That's a very good question. You should spend a lot more time thinking about what you're going to ask them and what you're going to tell them.
So in which order? Because one of the most successful training company in the world, and they have 7 questions and they have identified exactly what you mentioned. They have pain question. It's a assembler
and spin as well.
Yes.
Upweight as well.
Assembler training. Yes. So
Tech training and the rest. All the training is basically the same. I've just taken the central numbers.
So they do the same thing. First
Yeah.
ask the pain question, because until they understand the pain. Now you're not trying to create a pain, and if you try to create pain which is not real, then they
I'm trying to create value.
yeah, so they won't able to get with you. So I agree that you try to two things, pain and gain, right? Either you solve their pain or either give them pain.
Only 10% of the reason we buy things is to gain something new. Now you don't have to do. Listen, none of you have to do this. None of you have to do this if you don't want to. If you just want to put your products out on a stall, then you can do that on LinkedIn and everywhere else, and let's wait for people to come to you. You can do that if you want to. Personally, I think in sales you've got to be more proactive and go out there.
Yeah, what world-class trainer has the same philosophy?
I've never lied to people. They can have their money back if they're not happy afterwards. I mean this, they can have their money back. If they're not happy with what I deliver, they can have their money back.
Yeah, people are not stupid, right? If you try to create something which is not there, and they won't buy it.
Okay.
Anyway, any last things?
I don't think we have time for
We
it.
haven't done much time? Oh, I'm sorry. I've got to lose my voice in my phone.
Point, I didn't want to interrupt. Thank you everyone for your questions and your